second latent impression that we asked you to look at. As you can see, in this case, it's a far more inferior latent impression. There are only a few areas that show any particular minutiae, and even those areas are not showing particularly clear minutiae. In addition, though, we do have some indication of the general pattern type of this particular finger. If we take a look at the minutiae plotting, and here I'm going to use just two users in order to simplify the demonstration. And this is the first user, and this is the second user. And you can see that their minutiae plotting varies slightly in the selection of the minutiae, but they have certainly all grouped the minutiae within that area of greatest confidence to the right hand side of the latent print. And we can take a look at the first user, and this first user is being quite conservative in the selection of the minutiae. They appear to have selected the most the minutiae that they have the highest degree of confidence in, and in fact we can see that they've actually added an additional minutiae through influence of the actually known impression. This minutiae plotting generated a likelihood ratio of 10 to the 1, which with the 4 minutiae that have been plotted is consistent again with the results that we've shown in the presentation. If we now have a look at the second user, we can immediately see with this second user that they have plotted a larger number of minutiae, and in fact they have been far more adventurous or show more interpretation of that image in the selection of minutiae that they have plotted. If I toggle those minutiae points on and off so that you can see what is underneath, you can see that some of those minutiae plotting are, as in the first latent print, probably open for debate as to whether they are truly there or whether there's been some exterior influence. This user has got a likelihood ratio of 10 to the power 3. Part of that is down to the additional number of minutiae, and which has created a more specific configuration. The difference between the two here is quite significant in terms of how this particular latent print might be reported. 10 to the power 3 gives a lot more confidence that this latent and this known come from the same individual than 10 to the power 1. So the selection of those minutiae of lower confidence has been quite significant. Again, as we've said before, one of the benefits of this software, and in fact one of the practical uses, would be that you would run several likelihood ratios using different combinations of those minutiae, and then assess the list of likelihood ratios you have in your evaluation process. In terms of reporting this evidence, in this particular case you can see how other features which are not currently used within the software could add or increase that likelihood ratio and push it closer to an extremely strong and even closer to an individualization. As we noted before, we can see a general pattern, and we can certainly discern some ridge flow in this particular area, which appears to be very consistent with this ridge flow here. So this particular latent demonstrates how the likelihood ratio based solely on minutiae can be modified by the consideration of other features such as ridge flow, general pattern, dots, etc.